In 2008, the Chicago History Museum launched Fashion Next, a design competition featuring couture garments inspired by selected pieces from the exhibition Chic Chicago, Couture Treasures from the Chicago History Museum. 5 established local designers were asked to create contemporary versions of couture inspired by the Chic Chicago gowns. Of the 5 designers, 3 finalists were picked. The winning design of Fashion Next became a permanent part of the collection of the Chicago History Museum and was part of the Chic Chicago exhibition in its final months. Now, see the finalist designs come to life from sketch to runway and see who becomes the winner of the Chicago History Museum's first design competition, Fashion Next. With the designers' inspiration pieces picked out, it was time for them to transfer their vision for their own garments onto paper.
Okay, as far as the yoke goes on the top of the skirt, are you concerned about the stripes meeting up in the center, or?
As the designers were ready to begin actual construction of the garment, we threw them a curveball. Instead of using regular material, they would have to use upholstery fibers from local fabric maker Brentano. Founded in 1990 by Director of Design Iris Wang and her husband, Brentano has grown to be an internationally recognized textile maker.
Brentano has a tagline. It says beauty and performance. It's because Brentano believes a beautiful fabric for furniture or for interior has to also perform. Really, it has to be beautiful and it also has to be functional. I think it's just fun to be in fashion.
For some designers, this may have changed their entire outlook, but Chicago's best and brightest took it in stride.
Brentano fabric that I chose is about 115 inches wide, which is double or more than double than most fabrics that we use in the fashion industry. So that is very interesting actually because the dress is quite big, so it will lend itself to the wideness of the dress without having a lot of seams. However, it will change the way that I drape it just a little bit.
While Melissa only chose one of the Brentano fabrics, Jermico decided to use 4 different materials in order to achieve a new and interesting texture.
The gown is long. It's created from 10 yards of drapery fabric. And because we wanted something that was sort of soft and movable, we tried to pick the softest of the drapery fabrics that they have. This fabric here is absolutely incredible. And I love the width of it. It's like 140,000 feet wide. There isn't anything you can't do with this fabric.
At Price Walton, the designers were excited about the challenge of using new and unconventional materials for their gown.
I think that we do use really unique fabrics, and that's what's kept some of the interest in us with some of our clientele. They know that we are going to bring back the most unusual leather from Argentina, the best and most futuristic fake fur from Germany, the most unusual crystals from Austria, the greatest colors, the best textures, and the fabric that we're using for Brentano is really right up our alley. There's that cord, there's a very unusual, thick, luxurious, heavy-feeling cord that is interspersed with thin stripes of a see-through mylar that's barely there. It's like a tissue, completely see-through. It's gonna glimmer in the lights at night.
Once the fabrics had been chosen, the designers moved forward with the construction of their garments.
I drape all of the pieces. When I start draping, I usually start with a piece of fabric that I have manipulated a little bit. Maybe I cut a hole in it, maybe I gathered a part of it, and then I start flipping it around on the dress form to see what kind of shapes I could come up with.
Serpico adopted the 2-in-1 philosophy embodied by Kawakubo's Comme des Garçons dress, but with a design more conventional for evening wear. The unique aspect about Rei Kawakubo's black and white dress is that it can be picked up, draped over the shoulder, and transformed into a mini dress.
The silhouette of the garment was very much dictated by the function that it would perform. The main volume of the dress is focused in this area because it needs the extra fabric to twist around the back and then transform into the second look. The second shape is kind of a cocoon. The skirt wraps around and there's an armhole in the garment so that the wearer can slip their arm through it so it doesn't fall off. It creates this really interesting shape, but also it can protect the dress from being dragged around on the street.
Jermico's sketch shows that she was inspired by the elaborate butterfly bustle of the Charles James gown.
What I like about the gown that I saw of his is that there were surprise elements in back. I like the fact that in order to create that gown, he had to be somewhat of an inventor. That's what I am, that I could relate completely to that. Now we want to know if my idea for having those 4 fabrics is going to work. Of course it's going to work because I'm an inventor. What I'm really after here is in what manner do I put it?
Jermico decided to lay the different fabrics over each other to create her own unique material.
So I've gone through about 10 different ways of doing this, and I've decided that this works for me. This gives it depth, it gives it softness, it gives it brightness, it gives it texture, and it gives us the most fabulous design in the world.
For the back of the dress, Jermico plans to take strips of fabric and attach them to the bustle in order to create a new silhouette.
These are going to be bustle strings. Bustle strings are because the fabric is in strips, and instead of having a solid mass as Charles James has, ours is created with wire. So each one of these strips will get a single wire, which is a very thin wire, and you can shape them and form them in any manner that I choose to.
Jermico's love of coat dressing also inspired her to create a jacket to wear along with the dress. The back of the jacket will also have bustle strings attached, which will flow into the back of the dress seamlessly. At Price Walton, Roger and Tommy have also incorporated a jacket into their look. They've compared the shape of their jacket to that of an insect body.
It has kind of a dragonfly feeling to the sleeves, and the body has a kind of an articulated torso like a wasp. I think all of it's gonna work together, and now picture all of this completely see-through. We want to deliver to the Chicago History Museum something that can continue to grow and evolve long after we've become the chicest skeletons in the ground.
Coming up next time on Fashion Next, the judges weigh in on the contemporary couture our designers have constructed.
One arm lying back, kind of like you're dragging your victims along with you when you're wearing the garment. This is a beautiful angle, which is very asymmetrical.
And the winner of Fashion Next is finally revealed.
The winner of Fashion Next is